From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Money Mike Norvell, an incredibly generous gift from the head coach to build goodwill and to land really good players. What a difference 2 weeks makes. Darrell Jackson is back, and the news of his return is being met with the exuberance of landing a first-round pick. And Michael Langston's on to talk about whether the portal is going slow and the targets FSU must close on. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Shake it, take it. Clinically proven, clinically tested, obviously because it's clinically proven, Aslan, to do great things, everybody, like reduce your fatigue, enhance your focus and concentration, enhance your energy levels, obviously, because 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine will do that to you, and reduce brain fog, and enhance your mood. After 14 days of using Vitamin Energy shots, 89.3% of the participants agreed that the Vitamin Energy shots are effective at boosting their energy. Give it a try. Head over to vitaminenergy.com. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. If you've been thinking about coming over, you know, I don't really know if, Corey, I can say anything to be that final domino that knocks your decision-making to the stratosphere and has you join Warchant.com, but I think we're offering right now $20 gift card if you join the ad-free gold tier. So maybe you don't like ads. Maybe that's why you listen to the podcast, especially ours. We try to limit it. We try to limit our ads in this podcast. Maybe we're not as successful as others, but I think we're kind of successful in that regard. $20 gift card, either to upgrade from your current subscription to the gold tier status, or maybe just to come on board and join the gold tier status. Renegade Room access, elite information over there. Corey Clark sometimes dabbles in there, but he's always dabbling in Wake Up Warchant. He'll be on Seminole Headlines later today from 1 to 3 o'clock. Be sure to check that out, but we got plenty to talk about right now. Corey, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. It was an interesting Monday. A lot of news. Some very in fact, we'll start with the big thing, I think, which is Norvell giving half his salary back. $4.5 million, is that right?
Sounds right. Yeah, I didn't drill down to the particulars. I apologize, but I saw the $4.5 million.
Hey, you know what? And why would you? Why would you? Because, I bring that up, because I'm pretty sure you said if he did something like that, you wouldn't ask him a question until October.
Miami game. Yeah, if he gave $1 million back.
And he gave $4.5 million back.
He's like, can you let that podcast guy know that I quadrupled what he asked for, so I want silence for the whole year.
Oh, yeah, at least until the 2 Miami games from now.
Yeah.
So obviously I think good for him. I don't know. Do you write something like that off? Does he get some money back in taxes for something like that? I don't know how any of that goes. I don't think any Florida State fans were upset. I think they were pleasantly surprised that he would be willing to do that. I don't think he's going to be the last coach to do something like that. He's probably the last that does it after a 2-10 season because they don't usually get to keep their jobs. So him getting to go give $4.5 million back, he's still owed $60, right? 60. The buyout would be now $60 million or $55 or whatever.
Yes.
So, but for this particular cycle, that is money that can be used elsewhere. It's kind of I appreciate it, and also maybe, just maybe, Aslan. This will get college coaching back into the realm that it needs to be, where, as we found out, the players, now that the players are getting paid, maybe coaches don't need to be making $11 or $12 million a year. Maybe you want to funnel some of that, because, again, I don't know what name a coach. Who's a good coach? Who's the coach for the Bills? I always forget.
Oh, Sean McDermott?
Sean McDermott. What's he make?
I don't know, but you know what? Now that you talk about this, I was listening to the Rosillo podcast. He had Tom Curran on, who covers the Patriots and all things Boston and New England. And it was always cloak and dagger how much Belichick made, but Curran threw a number out there, and he's a guy that would know. He said that Belichick made $25 million a year.
Oh, in salary? I guess you don't have to report it in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, okay, that seems high to me.
Maybe it was dry Boston sarcasm, but I didn't pick it up as dry Boston sarcasm. I picked it up as, like, gospel.
So, but let's say that now he's making 10, right? Belichick's making 10 a year. He's at the Norvell. He's at the Norvell tier. But what's different now is it used to be to get good college football teams. Like Nick Saban was worth every penny because you knew if you spent the money on Nick Saban and kept him happy, he was going to give you great football teams and a lot of trophies. Well, now with players being paid, it makes the calculus different. And I don't know that coaches need to be getting paid 12. Like you can pay Kirby Smart all the money you want, and he's the best coach going right now. But if you don't get him any players, what does it matter? If you don't have the money to spend, what does it matter? And I think the percentage of money going to coaches is going to be whittled down, not to nothing, not to what it was in the 80s. But like, what do we think what do you think Florida State's salary is going to cost this year? I see anywhere from like $15 to $25 million is what like the going rate for these college football rosters are. Well,
sounds about right, yeah.
I mean, isn't it crazy that like you're going to pay the coaching staff as much as the players? Like that doesn't happen in the NFL. The NFL salary cap for 50 players is like $220 million. Because they're the most important part of the whole process. So maybe now that players are being paid and they are just chasing the money, shout out to Croman Hawk, looks like he might go to Mississippi State, that it will come back down to reality, and you don't need to overpay these coaches anymore because the players are the most important thing, just like in every NFL headquarters and facilities. They know that. Head coaches are nice. Jim Harbaugh's been good for the Chargers. You still need to pay Derwin James. And I assume Derwin James, I know Herbert makes more than Jim Harbaugh. I assume Derwin does too. Like, the players make more than the coach. That's how it should be in professional football, which is what college football is now.
Man, where's the romanticism in this? Why are you so jaded? Like, this is the lead story on a Florida State podcast on a Tuesday, but I think it's less about big picture. I think it's more about the here and now. Like, what a gesture. Brian Kelly, I think, Brian Kelly. $1
million, right?
Yeah, 72 hours ago was he'll match up to I think he said $1 million. So the LSU faithful could have raised $3 million, but he would only matched $1 million of that to go towards, they're going to funnel it and do whatever accounting they have to do to allow that money to go towards acquiring talent. And then, like he does, like he's often to do, Mike Norvell one-ups Brian Kelly. And does $4.5 million. This is going to be to launch the Vision of Excellence initiative.
What do you think that means?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's about to restore the standard. I do like how the first quote in this is from Mike, and it starts out with, "I presented this to our administration." Because I don't know if Michael Alford was going to want to, if I can be jaded, if Michael Alford was going to be the one that wanted to maybe take credit for this, like, hey, I went and got us a pound of flesh, everybody, thank me. But this is Mike coming out, the other Mike Norvell, I should say the other Mike, Mike Norvell saying, hey, I presented this to our administration. This was my idea. You guys didn't, pull this out of my account or garnish my wages. I went ahead and was like, let's do this. This is cool. But it just talks about, helping to be proactive in the financial assistance in the transition to what we have coming up here, commitment to the student athlete. So
it is. I don't want to overlook that. Nobody made him do it. It's not like he had to do that to keep his job.
No,
even if he did, even if they said, if you don't do this, we're going to fire you, he'd be like, all right, that's still $60 million coming my way or $65 million coming my way. So nobody forced him to do this. He is doing it. I mean, it's great. I think it's good PR. It's as good a PR as you can get coming off 2-10. I'm not saying he did it for the PR, but it is nice to have that kind of PR. And quite frankly, man, like, I'm to the point with just college football in general. I'm tired of these stories. I'm tired of seeing every 5-star from the last cycle hop into the portal because he only played in 4 games. Like, I hate where college football is, and this is the reason why. Not because I don't think players should be getting paid. It sucks for fans. The fans we know are pillars who give us money and give the university a ton of money, and they have to pay for the roster. It's like, well, why did they have to pay for the roster? Because we have friends that make a lot of money, and we have friends that donate to our show and then obviously donate a lot more to the program. Man, I don't know if they make $10 million a year. Mike Norvell should be more invested than anybody. And I do like that thought that, like, why are X, Y, and Z, the guys that have been footing the bill for 30 and 40 years, why are we going to them to ask for more money? To pay our roster, it's not even for facilities and coaching salaries anymore. Now it's for a defensive tackle. All right, well, Mike, how about you pony up some money, man? And I would have said that even if they went 8-4 this year. But 2-10, yeah, man, your program needs some help. And you're one of the wealthiest investors in Florida State football. It's awesome that he's given back because he didn't have to. At the same time, I know people might roll their eyes and be like, yeah, he's still got $60 million coming to him. But it's unprecedented. My point with the first part of the segment was I don't think it will continue to be unprecedented. I do think this will be more of the norm with coaches announcing that they're giving back and helping out to raise funds so these players, they can get good and better players and more of them.
I don't think I could have done it.
Good for him.
I don't think I could have done it, man. $4 million? And listen, I get it. Like he's got $65 million coming to him regardless of what happens between now and whenever.
Well, 60.5 now.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
60.5.
And part of me was trying to be a total jerk and be like, well, you know what? Maybe when you look at the percentage of his income, Willie giving $1 million to the football facility was more generous than Mike. But no, man, the 4.5 is incredible. Especially, again, Brian Kelly, he's been making a lot of money. He's been making Mike Norvell money for longer than Mike Norvell's been making Mike Norvell money. He's, again, he sets this at like $1 million, which I know Mike now makes it sound insulting, but it's like, come on, Brian Kelly, you're making $10 million. That's all. Yeah. Like that's all. And listen, he has not enjoyed the level of success that Mike had in 2023. Like people at LSU are a little bit, running out of patience with Brian Kelly. So you want to talk about earning goodwill? Whatever goodwill he earned, I think kind of probably got pulled from under him when he saw that Mike Norvell on Monday went ahead and did this. So
I don't know. It's still the 2-10 though. Like Kelly could be like, yeah, I would do that too if I went 2-10.
That's true.
There's always that context to it. But again, he didn't have to do anything. It's really, really smart that he did it. I still think he'll have. I still think they'll be able to pay the bills. The house is. You think the house is paid for? Or do you think he has mortgage payments?
I think it's paid off.
I've seen his house. I know where he's probably
that
paid
doesn't
it off.
Creepy.
Yeah. Well,
public record search, or did you actually hang out with Mike and Maria?
No, it's weird. I don't remember how Stephanie knows where he lives. Now that really sounds creepy. But she's driven by the house on the way to where her daughter goes to school or swims or something, and has seen it multiple times. It's on it's on a road. There you go. I didn't give too much away, did I, when I said it was on a road?
No.
So anyway, yes, and it's a nice house, as you can imagine, for a millionaire. But yeah, I assume he's already paid it off, and if not, he'll probably get some good money for it on the market if he leaves in a few years.
We'll have Michael Langston on later on the show to talk about, I guess, where that money is earmarked for. Sadly, like it's a huge amount of money. I can't imagine what $4.5 million looks like, but. And it probably is all going to be spent in the next, 3 weeks?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I would assume, I think that would be that would account for a third of the
for 1 year. For 1 year
spent on a roster. Yeah, I mean, but look, how about this, man? Another way to look at it: you just paid a guy $10 million to win 2 games.
Yeah.
So he got paid $5 million a win, and one of them was over Charleston Southern. He got paid $10 million. To score 19 touchdowns as an offensive coach. So we can lament the wasting of money or how much stuff costs now, but, I mean, these coaches have been bilking the system forever. So it's very nice. I hope other coaches take the lead. It's cool that kids get to make maybe not life-changing money, but, close to it, some of these guys. To go play college football because not all of them get to be drafted in the NFL. One person that would have been drafted in the NFL, Aslan, I truly believe, in 2025, is Darrell Jackson. And he will not be drafted. He will not be selected in the 2025 NFL draft because he's coming back to Florida State.
How about that? Let's put a finger in the book right there and talk about what's going on over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill later tonight. If you're in Tallahassee, Florida, and it's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, where should you be, Corey Clark, and what should you be doing?
Well, normally, and yes, you should be at corner pocket playing trivia, but the Noles basketball team, it does have a home game against Winthrop at the exact same time. So maybe if you can't make trivia because you're a big Jameer Watkins fan or you want to see Malik Ewan in person, go watch the basketball game, and then when they win, go celebrate the dub at corner pocket. And if they lose, go drown your sorrows at corner pocket. Either way, go to corner pocket after the game. Great post-game spot, Aslan.
That's right. Daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., but on Tuesday, it's all day long with the tacos. Soft tortillas, hard shells, beef or chicken, your choice. And as Corey mentioned, trivia at 7 p.m. Come on out, compete. Sounds like you're going to be at the Civic Center, Corey, so you won't be competing for the title of trivia champion.
Not this time.
Not for this week. So you folks take advantage while the getting is good. Or the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It is Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it, profit. As Corey mentioned, heading into break, Darrell Jackson, a guy that, is back. And lots of exclamation points, capitalization, lots of excitement in the kingdom, Corey. And in full disclosure, everybody, I sent a text message to a couple friends of mine where I pondered the fact that, Mike Norvell had gone 2 months of radio silence on social media. For 2 months, he hadn't said one single thing, at least on his Twitter account.
Which is smart, by the way, when you're having a historically bad season. Don't give anybody a platform to start sniping at you. Yeah,
so he decided to break this sabbatical of his by celebrating Darrell Jackson announcing that apparently unfinished business. So Darrell Jackson did the whole graphic, sayonara, I'm out of here, thanks, love everybody. And I was just like, this is a guy that had his mind set on leaving. He wanted to leave. He said he was leaving. He had everything ready to rock and roll. And then the NFL was like, well, you know what? Yeah, we'll have you, but we're not excited about it. And then I would assume battles end and Mike had a conversation and they checked back in with Darrell, or Darrell circled back and talked to them. I was like, hey, is the door still open if I want to come back? And they said, yeah. And now he's back. And I didn't have the same gusto of excitement. And a friend in the group chat said, Aslan, you're miserable. And I just feel like 2 weeks ago, Corey, if you would have told everybody, like, hey, Darrell Jackson's gone after this season, I don't know, man. I think like 70% of the people would have been like, all right, well, best of luck to him. Appreciate it. And then now to see like this huge groundswell of like, what? Almost as though like Timmy Jernigan decided to come back for 2014. And that's where I'm at. Like, I'm not anti Darrell Jackson coming back, but I'm just, I get it, man. He's going to be bigger and older than everybody's going up against, but he's been bigger than everybody he's played football against his whole life. And it's never really materialized into him being either like a all-state guy or an all-American. So I guess it beats the alternative of not having him around, but I don't think this changed the calculus for how I feel the Florida State defense is going to be this year, but I'm miserable. So,
but but it's also, you can't argue that they're better with him than without him. Like he was their second best player, but going by PFF, which is the grades we love, it was Azarie and then him as the two best players on the football team. He was top 10 in the country in QB pressures for a defensive tackle. He was top 10 in the country for QB hurries or hits by a defensive tackle. Look, he didn't know. He's not Timmy Jernigan. He's not, no offense, he's not Grady Kelly either. He is a good college football player. And is he special? No. Is it Kelvin Benjamin announcing he's coming back? No. Or Jared Verse for that matter? No. But when you're 2-10, you need all the good college football players you can get. And Darrell Jackson is a good college football player. At times, really good. I thought the second half of the season he was very good. He was overwhelming at times. But he's a defensive tackle playing for a bad defense. So it wasn't as if he put up great numbers, and who cared because they went 2-10 anyway. They could have gone 2-10 without him, probably. But it was just unexpected. I mean, he is an NFL draft pick. He's going to play in the league. So to get anybody like that back, a guy that's top 10, I guess I put it to you this way: if they were bringing a guy from Michigan State that was top 10 in the country in QB pressures for a defensive tackle, and had 8 tackles for loss, started every game, played 40 snaps a game, graded out as the second best defensive player at Michigan State, you'd be, that's a good get. That's a good get. That's a good portal get. That's somebody that's going to help. That's not somebody that's a project. That's somebody that's going to help immediately. Well, now you don't get that guy. He's here. He's Darrell Jackson. You know what he's got. It's going to be interesting to see him in a 3-3-5, how they would use him. It's a little bit different. But, yeah, man, I don't think it's bad news that Darrell Jackson is coming back. It's not, sound the trumpets. The Noles are going to the Natty news. But, man, it's good news for a team that needed some because it's not like the portal guys have been jumping back into the program. Well, keeping Darrell Jackson is as big as any defensive tackle they were going to get, in my opinion, and they need defensive help on the line of scrimmage.
Well, your headline read, huge news, ! So, like, what happens when they win the national title? Just like all exclamation marks? We don't even have any words in the headline, just all exclamation marks. Yeah. But I'd say this though. Don't
sleep on exclamation marks, man.
Yeah,
everybody loves those.
We do. In all seriousness, though, to your point, and it's not fair, but hey, sometimes I can be irrational too, like a fan. But I would have rather had the Michigan State guy. That's weird. The 2-10 season.
Oh yeah,
I'm over it. Like anybody, and it's not your fault, Darrell. I get it. For all I know, you worked harder than anybody, and you kept that defense together. But like that was the fulcrum of your defense, of a 2-10 defense. The coordinator ends up getting fired in the middle of the season. I feel like just moving on from a lot of people is in the best interest of the program. But maybe he's one of the guys that's not. He clearly isn't, because Mike Norvell broke 2 months of silence to celebrate him coming back. But like, if you would have told me, maybe they still do get Lee Hunter, the talented transfer from Auburn and UCF.
Yeah, I wouldn't think this would stop him, right? I don't think one guy coming back. It's not like he's going to be like, well, now Darrell Jackson's there, and I got to deal with who? KJ Sampson, Daniel Lyons. Like, no, I don't think that would help. I don't think that would keep somebody like that from coming at all.
I just wonder if they got a feeling that he's not coming, so then maybe they ended up reaching out to Darrell and be like, hey, by the way, the number changed. What do you think about this? But I'll talk to Michael Langston and get some insight into that.
They probably were like, hey, Darrell, this is kind of weird, but we just got an influx of cash of about $4.5 million. Just came out of nowhere. It rained down from the heavens. So we got a little more money to offer you than we thought we did. But, yeah, I think it's a good day. It's a good day for the Florida State defense. It's not a season-changing day. But anytime you can keep an NFL draft pick on your roster, and look, man, I'm telling you, the second half of the season, when you look at those grades and you look at the way he played and just his grades overall, again, it was Azarie and then him. Not for a good defense, but still, keeping those guys on the team is it's big. It's good. It's good for Knighton. It's good for White. It's just good for a whole new coaching staff to have a guy like that. I'm really kind of interested more in the 3-3-5, and I assume he's your nose, but he's never been coached to be a nose. But the 3-3-5 can be different. Where like, it's not like you have a defensive tackle and then two ends. Some of the other three of the first three, like the first three in 3-3-5, it can be a couple of 300-pound dudes on the edge, which I think Darrell Jackson, they might be salivating at the thought of somebody like him kind of in the edge role in a 3-3-5 and not just a nose guard. But either way, it's good. It's good news that he's coming back. Again, it's not horrible. It's not season changing. They're not going to win the national championship now that he's coming back. But I also understand your point that it's like, yeah, you just kind of want I think about DJ Lagway shedding him and then throwing a first down conversion, and I'm just. I hope they meet again next year.
I do too.
Because I really do think a lot of that was the rules with what you can do with a quarterback. In number one, he had him corralled. They didn't blow the whistle. If he tries to tackle him in that moment, he's going to throw all his body weight on him, and he's going to get penalized for that. Or maybe he thinks he does because it's an NFL rule. But next year, I hope he grabs that kid. And
legally,
of course, in the middle of a play, and flings him into the sidelines.
Yeah,
he is strong enough to do it. I promise. I know Lagway's clearly strong enough to break away too. But I hope they meet again, and I hope Darrell Jackson says, "Not this time, partner. You are going to be introduced to Florida Field very violently. Not trying to hurt him. Not trying to hurt him. Don't want to be carted off again. But yes, that is funny. That's kind of the last image a lot of people have of Darrell Jackson. Yeah. And the thing is, that was a really good play he made right up until he let him go and he threw a 30-yard pass.
Yeah, well, I was watching that again, like with the fans in the stands, and just the level of excitement just goes from the roller coaster. And like that was the microcosm. I don't want to say the microcosm of the season because very rarely did we think we had it. Like we thought we had it for one drive in Dublin, and then the rest of the season was being on our heels. Interesting though, Corey, how about this? I mean, to your point about the 3-3-5, and that's what I'll hold out hope on because listen, I understand these coaches make more money than all the players, so most of the players. So
I was going to say not all of them, maybe.
So the onus should be on them to improve the talent the best that they can. And listen, man, I think Terrence Knighton's probably, I'm going to say just a slight upgrade over Odell because I am not going to disrespect Odell Higgins in any way. Listen, man, Odell still coached these guys so hard. They respected the hell out of Odell. They still played hard for him. But I would just think maybe just a little bit more, maybe just one little notch, one little click Terrence Knighton can get more out of him. That's a good thing. Obviously, Tony White and the scheme and just him being part of a 3-down lineman look, maybe there's some options there that's unlocks something in a guy like that, but he's also played so much football. But it's interesting that a new scheme is going to be embraced by a guy like Darrell Jackson, whereas a new scheme on offense kind of scared somebody off. It's kind of funny, the duality of that, as we sit here and lament or look at the roster this upcoming season.
And obviously we know that, by the way, we got to talk about DJU officially declaring for the draft. But
go be great. Is that I meant to tweet that, like, am I doing this right? Go be great, young man.
Yeah. But I would say, I know they offered him more money. I know he got a lot of money. Like, I just looked it up. Like, if he was going to be the rookie scale for even somebody that's like the 150th pick in the NFL draft next year, it's like $900,000. If you make the team, you're guaranteed of making like $900,000.
Jeez, that's fifth roundish, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the 160th pick in the draft.
That's good.
If you make the team, it's like $900,000. So I don't know if Florida State's in that ballpark. Maybe it's close to keep a guy from trying to do that. But I also think Darrell Jackson would be like, okay, well, if I'm going to come back, I want to go from being like, let's say, a fourth-round pick to a second-round pick. Can this scheme make that a reality? And I have to imagine they showed him because Nebraska had a really good defensive lineman. I don't know his name. I think he wore number 0. He definitely wore a single digit. Big, huge monster of a man. And I just remember every time I watched Nebraska, he was, it was only really twice. It was Ohio State and Colorado. He was kind of dominating the line of scrimmage.
Nash Hutmacher?
No, that doesn't seem right. Could be.
That's the defensive lineman. That's 0.
Okay. Is he a tackle? Is he like is he good?
Yeah, 6'4", 310. Nash Hutmacher.
Okay, maybe it was him. So I assume they showed Darrell Jackson film of that guy and be like, that's what we think you can do, because that guy was a game wrecker. Mm-hmm. And maybe Darrell Jackson can be that kind of guy. I would assume, I don't really know the intricacies of the 3-3-5, and if that allows for more double teaming of your big guys up front or less double teaming because you're bringing linebackers from the edge or you're bringing linebackers up the gap, you're standing guys, do you get more one-on-ones in the 3-3-5 or a 4-3? I don't know. But they had to have sold Darrell Jackson not just on the money, but on the thought that he could really upgrade his stock and make some more plays this year. And he's gonna be in a defense that maybe uses him better than the one prior. Which would be great. It would be great to see. Now we can talk Farmer into coming back.
Yeah.
Zarier comes back. The whole gang gets back together, Aslan.
Pop-Tart Bowl bound. Love it. But yeah, let's get back. Can we, you did talk a little bit, obviously, what maybe the 3-3-5 can unlock, but it is interesting that, like, Luke's got his whole career ahead of him. And so does Darrell Jackson to a large degree. But like Darrell Jackson, this is it. And that's the thing too. I'm a little bit, worrisome about is that I'm sure he went into 24 like, this is it. This is my money year. I'm going to put everything I have in this and I'm gone. And then he did, and he decided to leave, and then he's coming back. So I wonder where your mind can be, but Terrence Knight will get his mind right. But it is interesting that Luke Kromenhoek's had all this time to like maybe giving the Gus Malzahn offense a chance, which I don't necessarily blame him for not doing it because he wants to be more of a prototypical drop back passer, and you can maybe do some read option stuff that can get mixed in for him, and he'd be fine with it. But that's going to be a large part of the menu for Castellanos. But it's just interesting to me that Luke was a little bit. I guess maybe it's different when you're the quarterback. I mean, a running back would probably be like, well, yeah, a new zone running scheme, I'm all for it. I guess it's so much different when you think about the machinations of being a quarterback as Mississippi State, loses out on Jackson Arnold, and then Auburn also got the quarterback from Stanford. So apparently you can get two really good quarterbacks if you want. Auburn going
slow down on really good.
Well, I'm sorry, good quarterbacks.
You can get two quarterbacks out of the portal. Yeah, I don't know that either one of those guys are great, but yeah, it's odd that they both chose there. That is interesting with Auburn, but and we don't know for sure that Croman Hawk. It was just somebody reporting it on Twitter. I don't even remember the website. It wasn't like it wasn't Ross Dellinger, but somebody saying that he was going to commit to Mississippi State. I know he's going on a visit there. And I think going back to Croman Hawk, we probably won't talk about him much ever again. I wouldn't think, unless he's in New York in a couple of years for the Heisman. I just think when I was thinking about it after we recorded yesterday, I think the biggest problem, honestly, is the story. The dad talking didn't make a whole lot of sense that he would do that. I guess he doesn't have, he's nice enough, and I'm a reporter. It's cool that he said yes to do it and talk about the journey, and it's a unique journey for guys like Croman Hawk and all these guys. Period. But and then the numbers that were coming out.
And hey, real quick, I'm sorry. Just in August of this past year, he did a story with The Athletic that was about how much does it cost to raise a blue chip quarterback.
Oh, okay. So then they went back to that,
yes.
Or they okay. Well, that gives it more context then. So okay. That does give it more context. And I'm not white knighting for the Croman Hawk family either, but that is important context. Yes. It looked to me like it was, and I didn't know that. I probably should have, but it looked to me like it was just him. Oh yeah, I'll talk about wanting to leave Florida State, but 4 months earlier, he talked about why Florida State. So it wasn't just all let me talk negatively about this program.
Correct.
So
correct.
that adds some context to it. But then also the people that know. The rumors that have been out there, and they're not really rumors. I think they're legitimate, valid. The numbers that were being asked for, that made people wince and kind of shake their head and roll their eyes and like, good luck, man. And as I said on headlines last week, I was like, where? Because once we heard those kind of numbers, we're like, where does he think he's going to get that kind of money? And maybe Auburn is paying both those quarterbacks $1 million to come. One of them's not going to even play. I don't know. I maybe that is the going rate for a backup. I don't know that, but I know Florida State's not going to pay somebody that's done nothing that kind of money. So he's off to somewhere else. Hey, I did some. Speaking of quarterback, real quick, Aslan, are we still on the air?
Yeah, we are.
Still on the air. Okay. So I did some research on our man Castellanos.
All right.
I thought it was some interesting. Oh, by the way, Dominic Robinson dropped a all 22 breakdown.
You did
on our website of Castellanos as a quarterback. He did it with Tom Lang. It's like 40 minutes long. It's really detailed, really well done.
Did he talk about how Deuce would fit into this?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Okay. I did not watch all of it. I watched the first half of it. I assume the last 10 minutes is like, if Deuce is right there, that's a touchdown. I assume, and I hope Tom at the end was like, hopefully he's throwing to your son one day, Dominic. Yeah. So I looked up his rush, the sack yardage that he lost, because I just think it's kind of important context. Maybe I'm just making too much of it, and it doesn't matter at all. So I looked it up. So in 2023, the year he burst onto the scene, had 28 total touchdowns, 13 rushing. So he was sacked 16 times for minus 121 yards. If you take that away, he ran 199 times for 1,234 yards and 13 touchdowns. To put that in perspective,
6.2 yards per carry, by the way.
It's also Warwick Dunn numbers from the mid-'90s.
I like that. Shout out to Warwick, by the way, for getting inducted to the College Football. Was it the College Football Hall of Fame, or what award did he get last week?
Oh, I don't know. It was that. Yes, he was inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Shout out to our guy.
Maybe the 8th, 9th? No, there needs to be 20 more. They just take their time. But, yeah, it's awesome. I even tweeted that last week. I think he's one of the Mount Rushmore guys, legitimately. But I think it's funny, too. Chipper Jones, who's an odd follow on Twitter, but I do follow him. He listed his Mount Rushmore of like baseball, something he did with his Mount Rushmore, and he had 6 guys on it. And it's like Chipper's just changing the rules, man. He does. Man.
Oh, Larry.
So, I mean, 199 rushes. So we ended up having 215 rushes for 1,113 yards. Those were the overall numbers. But if you take away the sacks, 199 for 1,234 and 13. Literally, I don't know what Warwick Dunn ran for, but it's around there. Like, he was about a 1,200. And in the last game against SMU, which Boston College won the bowl game, and we now know SMU's pretty good, different quarterback, but pretty good, he ran for 156 yards in that bowl game. I mean, I want people to realize when you take away the sack yardage, at least that 2023 season, this is one of the dynamic runners in the country, regardless of if he's a running back or a quarterback. He is one of the gifted runners in the country. He did it in the ACC, averaged 6 yards a carry. Every defense was schemed to stop him, and he averaged over 6 yards a carry, ran for 1,230 yards and 13 touchdowns. Then this year, Aslan, taking away even the sacks, 74 rushes for 296. What in the world, man? We'll talk to him. Yeah. I legitimately want to know what happened. Like, why did he only have 74 carries as a quarterback? Why 1,000 less yards?
Trayshawn Ward stealing all them carries, man.
Why did the offense get so much better after he left? Like, if you look at what Boston College did, so he left in, like, the first quarter against Syracuse when they were down 14-0. They came back and won that game, and you're like, oh, man, the backup must have been awesome. He must have come in and saved the day. The backup was 5 of 6 for like 60 yards, and they scored 37 points and won. And then they beat North Carolina 41-21. The quarterback had nice numbers, nothing great. They beat Pitt like 34-25. Quarterback had a better game that game. He was like 20 of 28, but he ran like 3 times for 5 yards. He was not a weapon at all. I think that quarterback ended up running for 40 yards in the last 4 games, meaning Castellanos' legs were just not a part of the plan at all. They were not utilized at all. Bill O'Brien did not want to use them at all. That was not part of his offense. It's not what he believes in, clearly. And then it's like he kind of devolved when it became he didn't get to be himself. He didn't get to run around and make plays and be himself in that kind of offense. He's just basically there to hand the ball off and throw to the tight end or running backs out in the flat. Well, and I hope I don't think there's a reason that he would have lost a lot of twitchiness and speed. Maybe he did. DJU looked like a completely different guy from one year to the next, and he did. 200 carries is a lot for a 5'9", 190-pound quarterback. So maybe his body was worn down. That's what gives me a little bit of pause, that maybe he just doesn't have the explosiveness that he did in 2023. But if he's still that guy with that explosiveness, and he's 21 years old, he shouldn't have lost it. You know, he's not 33. If you're getting the guy from 2023, a 1,200-yard rusher, okay, man. In this offense, with a guy that loves to run the ball and has always proven to run the ball, it excited me again. Yeah. That you're basically could have Warwick Dunn as a quarterback, and I know you'd like to have Charlie Ward as a quarterback or Jameis Winston, but those aren't in the cards, folks. But you have a gifted runner. If he's the guy that he was in 2023, and you guys all saw him, saw him that year.
I would be shocked if he's not closer to 23, at least running the ball. And I don't even care if he's those 18-5. That was great, the touchdown interception ratio this past year. I want 2023 Thomas Castellanos. I'll live with some of the breaking of the eggs that make the omelet and maybe some turnovers, but I need him to run the ball for like over 1,000 yards.
Well, and I'm with you. I just wonder, I guess it's just not Bill O'Brien's offense.
It's a directive, yeah man. I mean, he left Alabama when he lost Bryce Young, so like Jalen Milroe last year was not a Bill O'Brien invention. He had Christian Hackenberg in college. Christian Hackenberg didn't run the ball at all. And he had Tom Brady for a large part of his time in New England. But he had Mac Jones last year, I think. So he likes his prototypical drop back passer. And I'm sure it was like, hey man, don't leave the pocket. Like trust what we're doing. Guys will be open. You need to find the guy, distribute the ball, be the point guard. But he wants to go make plays. So come to Tallahassee and make plays.
And I would say this because he's like we thought. Look, and I'll say this. I mean, when they were on the same field together, Thomas Castellanos is a better athlete than Jordan Travis. He is. He is a better athlete. He's faster. He's quicker. He's twitchier. He's not a better quarterback. Nobody is sitting here saying that. I don't think I ever would. Prove me wrong, Thomas. But he is a running back playing quarterback. Jordan Travis had some of those skills and had plenty of speed, but he wasn't quite as elusive as this kid. He wasn't. This kid is a guy that Florida State wanted to be Ja'Kai Douglas. Like, they thought he could be that kind of receiver. That's what kind of athlete he is. And he's a good enough quarterback that he started 20-something games in the ACC. So the fact that you have a guy, that kind of weapon, I just thought once I took the sack yardage away and was like, man, 1,100 yards for a quarterback is impressive enough.
Sacks happen, though, Corey.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but like his running plays, when it was just him making positive plays with his legs, that's 1,230 yards. I don't know what Florida State ran for as a team this year, but I don't think it wasn't that. They didn't run for that as a team, and he ran for that as a quarterback. With the whole team game planning to stop him, and then his last game of the season, he ran for 156 yards and won them the game in the bowl against SMU. So he's made plays when it matters. He was in an offense that clearly wasn't structured for him or good for him in his skill set at all. If he's healthy, if he's got that burst that we saw and his body just didn't break down, which I don't think it did, Florida State shouldn't be taking guys with broken down bodies, and he's 21 years old. That it could be really exciting to watch that guy play. You just added, or if you got a running back in the portal that a year ago ran for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this guy's special. Well, you got that guy in the portal. He just happens to throw the ball too, sometimes to his own teammates.
Florida State rushed 378 times this past year for 1,079 yards.
Disgusting.
2.9 yards per attempt.
Disgusting. Should have been $6.5 million you gave back, Mike. You should have given it all back.
Let's talk to Michael Langston about recruiting right after this. Okay, we're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. All right, so in full disclosure, everybody, you haven't noticed, but I've got a nice setup now in my home office here. I bought a new camera. It looks great. Only problem is the software we use to record the video stuff that we do keeps recognizing the microphone built into the camera. You might recognize and remember when we did the live show last week how I sounded terrible for like the first 30 seconds until Corey told me, hey, you sound like trash. I didn't realize I sounded like trash until after I got done speaking to Michael Langston. So we did like a 20-minute segment, and I sound terrible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically edit all my questions. I'm going to retape them, and then we're going to let Michael go ahead and rip off whatever he said. So without further ado, Michael, it's Aslan. Thanks for being here. It's been kind of slow, the portal, it feels like. How important is this week? Because you and Matt told me on Saturday, chill out, man. This coming week, which is the week we're living in right now, this is the really important week. This is when all the visitors are coming. So just how crucial of a week is this?
I mean, I think it's very crucial because you're talking about having less than 2 weeks now, maybe a week and a half or so, left on the process of this cycle. But to stand up for you on that point, I'm kind of critical too of just the stuff I'm like. I think I can tend to be a little more aggressive than what I've seen as far as getting these visits on campus, because they've had several kids that that I know that were coveted by them, like Jack Pyborn, who ended up at LSU. There was several other guys. I think it was receivers.
Baron Brown, the guy from Kentucky.
Baron Brown, guys that I think that,
Derek Simmons. Wasn't Derek Simmons an offensive lineman from Western Carolina that they really wanted?
So my thing, and they did set up a visit, so that credit, they did have a visit set up with Derek. But my point is, I think you could be a lot more aggressive. Now, I've seen a little more in the last 24 hours that they're a little more aggressive, but I think overall, and I think they'll get a good portion of what they want out of this. But overall, man, you got to be aggressive with these visits. I mean, the main thing is you got to get them on campus, and for me, it's like you got to be the first visit, the second visit, but you got to get a visit. Like you got to find a way to get these guys on there, and so that's kind of my critique of what I've seen, so far. But even though I know they do have some coming up, pretty much every day I'll be at FSU. There'll be guys there, at least 2 or 3 probably every day. So there'll be a good amount. It might not be as many as I thought. Getting up to that 15 mark, but I think it'll be a considerably amount, a lot more. But yeah, I'm with you guys on that. Where that's to me is a must, and that's something that Now, like I said, I've seen it alter and change a little bit more in the last 24 hours, but I think overall that's something that is a must, that they got to get these kids on campus for a visit, and start cranking up. I know there's a lot of choices. I know there's certain guys that are probably a higher priority than others, but you've got to get these guys on campus to have a shot.
Yeah, listen, if they get the 2 offensive linemen from UCF, which I think they will, they should, right? And Deuce Robinson, I'll feel much better about where they are and where they can be. Lee Hunter, too, another guy. I want to ask you about this, Michael. Lee Hunter, the news of Darrell Jackson returning, Lee Hunter being on campus the other day. Is there anything to read into that? Maybe the vibe was off with Lee, so that's why they brought Darrell back into the mix? Or do you think those are two completely separate things?
Well, I still think it's two separate. I think it'd be more beneficial if you heard, like, say, Joshua Farmer couple that with and come back and say, hey, I'm staying. I think if it was multiple guys, I'd be more concerned with that. But
my concern was that with Lee leaving campus on Sunday and then the news with Darrell announcing on Monday, that to me felt like, well, maybe they thought Lee didn't give them, good vibes. So they're like, well, we need to get somebody that's really big bodied. Let's see if Darrell wants to come back. But you don't seem to think that's the case, yeah?
I get the sense that they've been talking to try to get, Darrell to come back. I'd heard that they're talking to a few guys. So I don't think it's like necessarily connected, but I think it's certainly, it could impact it where they felt like they were going to do even more than what they were doing. But overall, they need, now obviously getting Darrell is a big deal. Getting a defensive tackle that's a proven, commodity. So now they need, like I said, they need edge. As long as they get some edge guys, and I'm not talking about you get every single one of them where you get 4 of them, just get, half of that. And then get, to dress this offensive line, if you can get half of that, even get this total for FSU when you measure everything out, when the 28th has expired on December 28th, that you get it to around the 15 range. I think that's doable for the rest of what you need. I think if you get 15, I think you're feeling good, especially if you're addressing that offensive line, defense line, because to me, that's everything.
All right. Well, so edge.
I mean, listen, everybody. Do not listen to Wake Up Warchant tomorrow or the next day if you don't want somebody yelling and complaining, because if they don't get James Williams, I will be shocked, Michael. I would be shocked. It would be me hating on the staff, but like, you listen to James Williams, the way he spoke about Terrence Knighton, you think about Mike Norvell, his background. I mean, this sounds like you want to talk about family and fit. There cannot possibly be another guy in the entire country that's in the transfer portal that is a better family fit for Florida State, what they want to do on the field, who they want to be off the field, and a guy like James Williams. Just how crucial was it to get him on campus on Monday, and who else are they competing against?
Yeah, vital, because they don't have a lot of edge guys. They haven't landed anybody. They missed on Pyburn, as I said, and then you missed on Jamiri Butler, who ended up at LSU, kind of to my point of the visits. But overall, James is vital, and I feel pretty good, pretty strongly about, that they will, to your points of, the connection with Knighton and even Tony White. I think overall, that's one that I definitely do feel that they'll get some good news for. But that will certainly really give them some positive momentum. But overall, in these next whatever days were left, 15 days or whatever, they got to really get aggressive at some guys on the edge position that they can really add to kind of finish this off the way they want it.
Are there any other names in the mix right now? Well, we think at edge, or is this something you're going to have to kind of check in on? Because, there's names that keep coming up. Jack Pyburn was a name that came up, and that was after Jamari Butler committed to LSU. Well, Pyburn's now at LSU. And, you talked about maybe they're not going to get this number they had in their mind. Well, I mean, not only do you not hit that number, but then you're kind of going lower and lower on your board, which isn't a great sort of feeling. So lots of ground to make up. Any other names we should be familiar with at edge?
I'm feeling it out as far as the intel. I'll throw some. There's names probably, but I'll throw some new names out there. There'll be more. Like I said, there's 5,000 kids in the portal, so there's going to be a lot of options, a lot of things, and I know they're going to be aggressive with it because I know they want to pair things with whether they got Darrell to come back or not. I think they want to pair things with him and the defensive tackle or whoever they got the defensive tackle. So it's very vital that they pair him up with some talented edge guys. So I do think that's something that they're heavily focused on, and and certainly we'll have some more names as the coming days come up, because I think these lists every day are going to probably add up. There's going to be additions to each day that we do. It's like Tuesday and Wednesday, goes to 2 and 3, and I think you'll have around that amount every day, if not higher. So some days you'll have 4. So I definitely think we'll get some surprise visitors, like what happened with Troy Ball's coming in today. Todd Bowles'
Crazy,
son,
right?
coming in. So I think you're going to see a lot of those, Aslan, where these kids jump in, because I think, like I said, the last 24 hours I've seen an aggression that you kind of like, the flow way you like of getting kids on campus. So I think that will continue, and so we'll see a lot more names.
All right, let's flip over to the offensive line. Obviously, a big point of contention, big need. The 2 offensive linemen from UCF, we feel like they're in pretty good shape with. One was already on campus, Caden Kilter. I should know this, but I don't have it in front of me, Michael. I apologize. I think he'll be on campus later. They also have Gunnar Hansen, offensive lineman from Vanderbilt, tackle. He's on campus. Just how much of a priority is Hansen right now? He's a tackle, yeah?
Yeah, the way I get the feeling is that he is a high priority. He is, out of all the guys, if I'm cheerleading here, that's the guy that I want for FSU, because he brings the most. His PFF grades are ridiculously good. Teams that he played against that were really good, like Alabama, he's performed really well. That's a guy that, from experience standpoint, he checks off all those boxes. I think he would be essential for FSU if they can, close that out and get that done. And I keep harping on this, but I'd like to see a little more aggression of pushing to get these things wrapped up, these commitments. Yes. So I think you'd like to see a little more of that. But I think overall, that's, out of all the offensive linemen, that's the one I really like. I do like the Addison Nichols kid that also visits. He's from Arkansas, starting center. That's another one that I like. But for me, Gunnar is the pivotal one for me. That if I was picking one, that's the guy I'd pick.
All right, quick little refresher for the folks that are not recruitniks that listen to our show here, Michael. But getting guys on campus is huge. And listen, a lot of these guys get money just to show up and take a visit, which gross. But much in the same way, like in the NFL, when they bring a free agent in and they end up leaving the facility without signing a contract, like it's usually not a good sign. So I know getting guys here on campus is a good thing. Williams, Hansen, they'll be back on campus later today, but just like how important is it, man? Like how absolutely important is it, Michael, to not let these guys leave without committing? Like when it comes to portal commitments, portal recruiting, it's so important that they commit while they're on campus, right? Because it seems like if they don't commit when they're here, they're going to go elsewhere and visit, and then they probably end up committing there.
Yeah, I think the main thing is getting on campus for a visit. Obviously, you want to close the deal, but as long as they visited, because you already set up the, whatever the NIL plan is, you've already set up the plan of what you're going to do and how they're going to use them. They know what you're like. They've connected with you. I'm not so bothered by if they don't commit on the visit, although that will be very helpful if they were, like a Stephon Thompson who committed, enrolled, bam, you're done. Same thing with Thomas, the quarterback. You certainly want that, but for me, what is essential is the visit. Like you have to get them there. Like that's just, you have no shot if to me if you don't get these kids on campus to showcase what all your new toys that you have with your coaches and your get them around the players. To me, that's the number one essential thing. I do agree with you that it does drop a little bit, if they don't commit on that trip, because other stuff's going to be fresh in their mind. But I think these guys, the players, it's a lot different in high school where they're just looking for a something thing. And if you collect that certain thing and you check it off, bam, they're going to do it quicker than anticipated. But overall, with the guys that they have ties with, I think that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal of speeding up this process for a lot of these guys. Yeah, it might not happen on the visit, but a day later they might commit to FSU or something like that.
Circle back real quick. The tackle from Vanderbilt, he's actually from the state of Florida, I think Boca, so that's obviously a good thing for the Noles. I think he'll be back on campus later on Tuesday as well. Addison Nichols, the player from Arkansas, he's from Georgia, I think suburban Atlanta, so that's a little bit closer to home, so that's a good thing. Continuing this theme on offense here, Michael, I know everybody's worried about the trenches, but this is an offense for playmakers, or at least it was when Mike was calling the plays. I don't see a lot of playmakers, and I would like some playmakers. And I know they prioritize the kid from Kentucky, that wideout. He ends up going, I think, to LSU. They like the young man from Miami of Ohio that was originally from Ocala. I think he ends up going to Texas Tech. And listen, man, I like Hakeem, I like B.J. Gibson, I like Elijah Moore. But I think they need to address something at wide receiver. And I mean, Kendrick Law is a guy that, might help. And actually, yeah, he is a receiver, so he might be able to help out. Sell me on him then, Mike. Like, sell me on Kendrick Law. 10 catches a year at Alabama here the last few seasons. Like, why is he not going to be the next Malik Benson?
Well, the difference with Kendrick, when I see him, he's getting a lot of snaps. He's getting actual stuff that Malik wasn't getting, snaps-wise. It's more just having his number called, and I like what he does from a separation standpoint compared to what I saw Malik outside of that spring game that we watched with Alabama, where we had a big spring game. But I think overall, I think Kendrick's more electric and more versatile, where you can use him at running back, you can use him at receiver. He's kind of you can kind of use him in a lot of different, I think, a lot of ways. You mentioned Kevin Concepcion. That's obviously my top prize guy. Certainly FSU's familiar with him playing the ACC at NC State. That's a guy that I could see. I've been told that with Kevin, and I think Pete Nakos kind of confirmed this with I think a report either the last few days that he's going to take his time, where I don't think this is going to be like right away, which is good news for FSU because I think they're pushing to get him on campus, and they love these late visits. So that's one where I think you could get a visit. I think there's several other targets that are going to be on there. But to answer your question, like, do I think they're happy? I think they like what they have with their young guys, but man, I ain't gonna lie, Aslan, they need some experienced players that are come out there and just to help them. Now, do I think you need 3 of them? No, I think 1 or 2 will do. You just need to have somebody that's leading the charge with this group. And right now, they don't have really a set guy, that in this offense, a receiver that's kind of the leader. And you look at him, and it's like, okay, that's their wide receiver 1. It's like they don't have that. So I think at the very least, adding one of those guys. Mega Blake could be one of those guys. He's out of Charlotte. He's visiting there later this week. That's a guy I'm pretty high on. Visit's already set, so that's good news. Maybe they can just get him in the Tallahassee airport and see what they can do. But that's one that's a productive guy that I feel fits that connections that I'm talking about of getting productivity, come out there and do some things. And I think he will add a lot to your offense. So nice, seems to have nice size there that you look for that certainly can get separation. So I think he's a guy that you certainly circle that they offered, that they certainly are highly interested in. And man, it would really give them a boost if they could get a productive receiver, committed, soon.
Yeah, see, I get all excited, Michael, thinking about receiver. They need receivers. They need an elite receiver. But then you think, all right, it's Gus, though, man. It's the Gus offense. And, he's never really had, he had an elite receiver in like Hakeem Williams, but I think he only made it like half a season. I mean, he might have had one 1,000-yard receiver he had at Auburn. So, it's going to be a lot of running the ball to set up the pass, which, gets you probably like favorable coverage matchups as a wideout. So it's maybe not that big of a deal. Let me ask you about Jordan Scott, the junior college wide receiver. Are we like sleeping on him being part of the plan day one to get this thing turned around?
Yeah, I think several of those guys are, but it's definitely Jordan Scott because he's a JUCO. He's coming out. He's probably more fine tuned than these other guys. 6'7", and I think that will really solidify or downgrade what their evaluation is and how that works. I think. Certainly if Jordan Scott's good, then you're going to be like, hey, they're rolling. Evaluation is really good. Gus knows what he's looking for, or all these guys know what they're looking for. If it doesn't go so well, then you're kind of like, well, did they panic? They push? Okay, so you have to address that. But, yeah, I think Jordan's in there. Another name that's in the portal that I think highly of, and I know it's the name people know, is Deuce Robinson, Dominic's kid, very talented kid. Supposedly visiting later this week, and to me that's another vital one, where it's not so much that he's a legacy, it's like the stuff he will add to your offense of what he does. I think is very special. So I think that's a vital one, and I think it's vital to get. I'm just going to call it and say get 2 productive guys, or at least semi-productive, to add to these young receivers that I really like. I love B.J. Gibson a lot.
Yeah,
I like what I see. I think Hakeem with the right coach.
But I want to play Alabama with some guys that are ready to go, man.
Yeah,
maybe week 6, I really like where Hakeem and B.J. Gibson are, and Elijah Moore. But man, I'd like to have some guys that are ready to go week 1.
Yeah, you need that, and that's why I think it's so important in getting productive guys, and that's why we've seen so many targets on the radar for them from the portal. But now you got to start execute and get these guys on campus, and they need to start getting at least one, and then kind of hopefully you get 2 or 3 in this class if you can. I'm good with just 2 productive and then 1 really highly rated guy that you feel the upside and the ceiling is so high. A guy like maybe Kendrick Law, that. Hey, his production isn't as what these other guys are, but man, he's explosive, and we can do a lot of different things with that guy.
We like to talk in the faux present tense because we do record this show, but I just want you to know, Michael, that there's nobody I'd rather have been on air with to cover this part of collegiate football history. Then as we sit here and talk, Dabo Swinney has pulled a player out of the portal. Tristan Smith, a wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State. We'll see how he sells everybody on pulling a guy in from the portal. But, hey, Dabo, welcome to 2024. Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah. I want to see when this kid signs, because I want to see what Dabo's statements are when he talks about this kid from another school, since Dabo was so against it. But, hey, welcome to the party, Dabo. Welcome to Earth. Welcome to Earth. This is what you have to do, and this is part of reality. But that's pretty cool. I'm glad everyone's finally falling in line, that understanding the vitalness of whether you like the portal or you don't like the portal. It's here, and it's what you need to, and it's a way that you can greatly shift your team in your roster, and that's what it's there for. And I think teams are going to take advantage of it. And yeah, it's been wild and crazy with all the number of portal entries, but overall, it's just something you have to do, Aslan.
56 catches, 718 yards, and 4 touchdowns this past year at Southeast Missouri State. That's the guy you went after, Dabo. All this time, all the guys. He weighs 6'5", 205 though. So I'll sit down for a second here.
Okay. Real quick on the way out, Michael. What do you think of the chances that Lee Hunter makes it back to Tallahassee for an official visit?
I do think he'll visit Friday. I have a person, so I'm subject to change my mind.
So he's going to A&M, and then he's doing a multi-day to Austin to go to UT. Is that the?
I think he was going to somewhere one day, and then I think Texas A&M was like a multi-day one. So
A&M's the multi-day. Okay.
It was like one single day one, and I forget the name of the school. But then there was one where you do a multiple, and then FSU, he would come back on Friday to do official visit. I think for the connections, based, and especially what I'm hearing, that would be a guy that I would feel like the fact that he went over there so quickly to visit FSU, and then he's already setting up something to come back. I think he will, but nothing's a guarantee, because as we've seen, these teams, if they push and they really want it, they're going to get it done. But I'd give it a 50-50 shot, maybe 55-45 or something, that he would come back for that visit, at least right now.
All right. We certainly appreciate that, Michael. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks also to Matt Lasser, who aids Michael in getting all this information, the intel. So you got to go to the Premium Recruiting Board to get the latest, greatest, most up-to-date, accurate information. But thank you, Michael. On behalf of Michael and Corey, thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant. Seminole Headlines 1 to 3 o'clock. We'll probably be back with another program for you tomorrow. We get to speak to all the assistant coach hires. So we'll get Terrence Knighton. We'll get Herb Hand. We'll get Tim Harris, the wide receivers coach, and Evan Turner, the safeties coach. So that's going down like at 11 in the morning, 10 in the morning. So check out warchant.com. We'll have a running thread of all of it, video replays, and we will talk about what they talked about, because that's what we do on the program. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's been Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.